Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of That's Bonkers, Bruh, where we talk about the strange and unusual, the interesting, and anything downright bonkers. I'm your host, Mitch.
And I'm Kelsey.
And I should probably change things from this week's episode to this month's, because we're sucking.
We really are. It just is what it is. We've just come to accept it. It's just too hard to stay consistent. Maybe one day. But it's fine. We're here now, and you know what? It's October 13th. It's not Friday 13th.
No.
And it won't be the 13th when this comes out, but we are recording on October 13th, and I just get a kick out of that because it's spooky. I love the number 13, and
You're a creep.
yeah. And
You can say it.
Yeah, so it's a perfect day to record this podcast and talk about ghosts and creepy cemeteries. Yeah,
I think it's very, very appropriate that we're starting back up. I don't know. It's been a month, but still, we're recording today on the 13th of October. Mm-hmm. It is a family favorite month, I would say.
I love October so much.
It's just all the leaves are turning, the spookiness is in the air.
It was such a lovely day today. The weather was so nice. The weather's been so nice lately. I just want to go meander through a cemetery. Like a creepy, really cool old cemetery.
We keep talking like we're going to, but I think that we need to do something about it, I guess.
I was just thinking about that today. I really want to go to that one cemetery that we talked about that has the conjoined twins.
Oh, yeah.
Buried. Yeah, Daisy and Violet. If you don't know what we're talking about, listen to our Freak Show episode. Where we talk about Daisy and Violet, the conjoined twins. Are actually buried here in Charlotte, and I really want to go see them. I'm something of a cemetery tourist, I would say.
Yeah.
I like to go look at cemeteries when we're traveling, like when we were in, what's the place? In Savannah.
Well, yep.
That was the coolest cemetery ever there that they have. So cool. So cool, that cemetery. If you ever get a chance to go check that one out. Then also there's a really cool old one down in Uptown here. Mm-hmm. And we had
several.
Yeah, we had a weird experience there.
We did have a weird experience about this time. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
I don't know, and it doesn't matter. It's not relevant to the story.
That's true.
But
fire away.
Mitch with his unnecessary details. Yeah, let's talk about it before we get into our official stories. Should we?
Yeah, I think we should.
People are going to think we're weird. People are going to think I'm weird.
I think that ship has sailed, but this may further provide evidence
of
the weirdness.
It's fine. Okay, so my parents always come out for Halloween. They're coming out for this Halloween also. Well, not always, but majority of the time they come out. And so one year when they were here, we went down to this old cemetery. I should have looked up the name before I started. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's the oldest cemetery in Charlotte.
Isn't it just like one of the wards, like 4th Ward or something like that?
I have no idea. But so we went there. We're like, let's walk around this cool cemetery. They've kind of turned it into a park/dog park. People in the area will just like walk their dogs around. No one's buried there anymore, obviously, but a lot of the headstones are like kind of damaged and messed up just because they're so old. So I don't know, it's just cool to walk through. So we walked through, and then we were going to go get some dinner after. So we're like looking at this one headstone before we decided to go get dinner. It was at the end of our little tour, I guess, self-guided tour. And you know what was weird too is when we were reading this last headstone, we were like looking at this one in particular, and I was like feeling very emotional. It was weird.
I don't remember that.
I even said to my mom, I feel really sad right now. And she was like, I do too. Because we were like reading this headstone about, it was like a kid that died, which obviously is sad. Yeah. But for some reason, it was just absurdly, I felt really sad. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere, it was weird. I was like, oh, am I picking up on something? I don't know. And then we're like, okay, whatever. Let's go to dinner. Where should we go? So I pull up my phone, go to Google to type in restaurants near me. And it was pulling up restaurants in Alabama.
I remember that. Mm-hmm.
And we're in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it took me a minute to figure it out. And I was like, what are these restaurants? I've never heard of any of these restaurants. And for some reason, then I finally figured it out at the top. I was like, oh, these are in Alabama. And it was from that point forward that all of our phones
jacked up.
I swear to you, our phones were like affected by a ghost or something, because all 4 of us, our phones did not work properly for the rest of the night from that point forward. So we go to dinner. We walk to this place, which is like a cute little diner. It was a couple blocks away. It wasn't super far away. Mm-mm. And then we're like, okay, we're done. Now let's walk back to our car. Okay, 4 grown adults. None of us could navigate our way back to our vehicles.
No.
We were, how long did we walk for? Probably 45 minutes?
It was a while. Yeah. Well, we even got onto our phones because we were like, oh, well let's just go ahead and plug it in. It took us in the wrong direction. And it was like, you're getting closer. And then all of a sudden your phone's like, oh, you're a 25-minute walk away. We're like, what the hell?
No, at one point,
just happened?
At one point it said we were 45 minutes from our destination.
Yeah.
All 4 of us, 4 adults, you guys. And we're all plugging in our phones, like into the maps, typing in like a restaurant that was close to where we parked, trying to find my parked car. And we'd be like, oh, okay, it's this way. And we'd walk for a while. Then it'd be like, oh, now you're 40 minutes away. But it's like 5 minutes ago, it told me I was 15 minutes away. So this doesn't make any sense. It was honestly like I was in the freaking like upside down. Like it did not make sense.
No.
The kids were getting freaked out. Zeke was like starting to get teary-eyed.
They were not having
because none of the
time.
adults could figure out how the hell to get back to the car. At one point, I was like, "Do we take an Uber?"
Yeah, he's like, "Are we lost?
Like, do we just call an Uber?" Like, we weren't even that far away. It was truly odd.
No, just a handful of blocks away.
Yeah, so I honestly think like a spirit messed up our phone. It was so weird. But anyway, we finally got back to the car and it was fine. But I think about that from time to time, how weird that was, and I really think something interfered.
Yeah. Like ghosts.
Yeah. So anyway, that's not my official story, but Mitch is going to go first.
That's a perfect segue, I think, into my story, because this is the Phantom Hiker of Grandfather Mountain. Cool. You can look up Grandfather Mountain. It's actually a mountain here that a lot of hikers hit up on a regular basis here in North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. And the thing that I think is unique about this, which you'll hear about it, is no one knows anything about him. Like, he's like potentially just a lost hiker. So anyways, listen to this story. The Phantom Hiker of Grandfather Mountain is said to be an old man, bearded, with a rugged and grizzlied appearance. He can be distinguished from a living hiker by the lack of neoprene and Gore-Tex in his wardrobe. Instead, he's said to wear old-fashioned workman's clothes that look like they're from somewhere in the middle of the 20th century. He wears a rough canvas army backpack and carries a long walking stick. The Phantom Hiker is said to appear mostly as the evening is settling in, when most of the day hikers have left or are working their way back down. He never says anything. He will never acknowledge any greetings either. He simply appears walking along one of the trails in the backcountry, moves swiftly ahead of everyone else he encounters, and then simply vanishes. No one knows who this mysterious figure is. Some have suggested that he was a hiker who became lost in the thick woods around the mountain and fell or was injured and was unable to make his way out. Others say that he's just the spirit of a man who loved the mountains so much that he chose to stay there after he died. The ghostly hiker seems to do no harm. He seems to want little to do with people in general. He only seems to be there, like all other visitors, to enjoy the natural wonder of Grandfather Mountain.
Interesting. That would be creepy to see someone. You're on a hike. I'm always suspicious of people when I'm on a hike or a walk anyway. And imagine if you just saw this like creepy man in like old looking clothes walking towards you. It'd be very sus.
It would be so weird. And then just be like, hello, or you do the nod thing when you're going by somebody, just like hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
And he just like
keeps
vision,
keeps on going,
trucking by.
Interesting.
Like he's from just 1920.
Is Grandfather Mountain affected by the hurricane?
No, it's close here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we should hike it then.
Let's take a trip.
Sounds like we have a lot of things to do.
Always.
Always. There's always so many things we want to be doing.
Yeah.
Oh, there's not enough time in the day. All right. Well, on to my story. If you're from Ogden, Utah, you have heard of the local urban legend of Flo from the Ogden Cemetery. Mitch, did you ever go see Flo? Did you ever try to see her?
We didn't know what we were doing. We were like freshly 16, probably half of us only 15, piled into a piece of junk 1990 Honda Civic or something like that, and went down there. I know you go to a certain place, flash your lights. She's supposed to appear.
Yeah, you go to her grave, you flash your lights 3 times, and then she's supposed to appear.
Yeah. So yes, kind of, but no, I don't think we were at her grave. I don't think we knew exactly what we were doing. It was just like, oh, you just go shine your lights and flash them.
But you didn't have a ghostly experience?
Nothing.
Okay. For some reason, I never went. I don't know if I was too scared. I just never came up. Thanks for inviting me to go. That was rude.
Sorry.
I kind of want to go now. Next time we're around that area, we should check it out. Anyway, we're in our 30s. We get arrested because we're trespassing. We're like, officer, it's for our podcast.
This is research.
Yeah.
Have you no soul, man?
So basically, the urban legend is that you go to this girl. She died when she was 15. You go to her grave. Her name is Flo. Everybody has heard of Flo in the area. Flash your lights 3 times, and she's supposed to appear. Let me give you the history. So, like most legends, it's impossible to trace this one back to its original source. But there are a couple of different versions explaining how Flo died, leaving her ghost forever waiting at her grave. One version says that Flo was waiting to be picked up by her boyfriend to go to the school dance at Ogden High when she was suddenly struck and killed by a car. Another says that she died from choking on a piece of candy. But actually, neither of these are correct. Neither of these are even close to what actually happened to her. So her full name is Florence Louise Grange. She was born on November 24th in 1903 in Ogden. Most of the references to her called her by her middle name, Louise. So she actually went by Louise, not Flo. And from what little information is available, it seems that she was a well-liked girl, and there were a couple mentions of her being a guest at various parties, and she was also on the school volleyball team in 1916. So the way she actually died, we'll get into that. In 1918, the United States and the world really saw the worst influenza pandemic to date, the Spanish flu. An estimated 20 to 50 million people died from this worldwide. It claimed the lives of almost 700,000 people in the U.S. alone. And interestingly enough, Utah was the 3rd hardest hit state. It was so bad that by late November 1918, both of the hospitals in the Ogden area were full, and city officials turned an LDS amusement hall into an emergency care center. For those of you outside of Utah who aren't familiar, LDS stands for Latter-day Saint, or more commonly known as Mormon. So they turned like a Mormon church basically into an emergency care center. People were required to have clean bills of health from their doctors just to enter Ogden. From September 1918 until June 1919, over 2,000 people died and it was reported to have been caused by the Spanish flu. What was odd about this strain is that it was particularly hard on young, otherwise healthy people. According to Grange family history, the entire family contracted the flu after one of their tenants became ill and brought it into the household. Most of them caught a mild case and didn't spend any time in bed sick. But Florence Louise, however, was not so lucky. So that's how she ended up passing. I have no idea how a girl randomly dying of the flu ended up turning into this like local urban legend, but it's kind of badass.
Yeah.
Like if you have to go at an early age, you might as well become a local urban legend. You know, Mitch, if I died before you, will you turn me into an urban legend?
I'm sure I could make up some stuff. They'd be like, we heard her podcast and this isn't that far-fetched, really.
Exactly. It's like, it's kind of badass. So one thing that is interesting when I was doing my research is that I forgot my notebook. I have little notes written down. Of course, I didn't grab it. I'm getting ahead of myself. All the accounts of people saying that they've seen her, they all say that she's green in color. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't.
So I have heard that from people like just that I've heard talking about it that I know personally. But then also when you're reading online, all the accounts and all the comments and or on YouTube or anywhere you're hearing it, they always say that she appears as like a green light that like swooshes towards the car.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Why green? I don't know.
I don't know. I think green's associated with illness, right? Like,
I mean, maybe
green face when you, I don't know. I guess it's influenza. It's not like a stomach bug, but
that's why. But yeah, she's not like a white apparition or like anything like that. They always see green, like a green flash or a green light. But I took a poll on my Instagram and asked, if you're from Utah, have you ever gone to the Ogden Cemetery to try and see Flo? And 72% of people said that they had.
72% had seen Flo.
No, had said that they went to see her.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
I
was cool. Like, that's bullshit. No way.
No, 72% just said that they went to try and see her. Not that they had a ghostly experience. I tried to get someone to give me a ghostly experience, but nobody really came through.
No.
But yeah. But I do know a ton of people have gone and tried to see her. But it sounds like the police are always kicking people out for trespassing because people are always going there.
You know, I think they, I swear at one point someone told me this, we were still living there. And so it could have been in any point in our 20s. So they had like put up chains and closed the gate and stuff like that at night. Like it was part of like
that would make sense.
Part of like the policing, if you will, of the area where they actually like shut it down. So they make sure everyone's out of the.
Because so many people were going in to try to have an experience, especially in October, I'm sure. But imagine you're this like 15-year-old girl who dies in the early 1900s and you become this infamous ghost story for the locals. Like, what a way to be immortal. You know what I mean? It's kind of cool, honestly. I never knew the history of it, so.
Yeah, I never heard it either. It was just, everyone just knew Flo.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't even realize that Flo was a young girl.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I thought it was just a person, like an adult. I didn't realize that she was so young.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting to research because I, grew up hearing about it and I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's your next one?
Next one, very infamous.
Okay.
A very infamous man over here on the East Coast because he terrorized for only a handful of years. So this is the ghost of Blackbeard. So when you go to the coast out here in the Atlantic from North Carolina sort of down through Florida and whatnot, there's always a lot of pirate stuff. And on top of that, there's always a lot of like Blackbeard things. I've come to the realization. Mm-hmm. So, and that's where this comes from, this whole story. So I thought was very interesting to hear how this all came about because, well, I don't want to ruin it for you, but the story is, I don't know, not crazy, but it'll all make sense.
All right, jump into it.
On Ocracoke Island is a small channel of water known as Teach's Hole. This inlet is reported to be the spot where the pirate Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, preferred to anchor his ship. It's also said to be where he met his end, and some say his ghost haunts the spot to this day. Blackbeard roamed the Atlantic from around 1760 until 1718. Robbing ships from the West Indies to the Carolinas, he had a reputation for unbridled ferocity. When Blackbeard went into battle, he strapped multiple pistols and multiple cutlasses to his body. Most frightening of all, he wove fuses into his long black beard and set them on fire just before he stepped on to capture the ship. This towering figure, armed to the teeth, sporting a sparkling, flaming beard, must have been absolutely terrifying. Ship captains would surrender without a fire being shot. Or without a shot fired.
He was so unhinged.
I guess so. Just this guy is freaking nuts. He's got explosives in his. It looked like explosives in his beard.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I mean, just think Pirates of the Caribbean,
Are you
but
sure
just
that's
like,
legit?
I mean, it's a local legend. I mean, everyone knows at least the man that was Edward Teach. So, but it gets, I guess, a little more interesting here. So, as I said, Blackbeard's reign on the high seas came to an end on November 22nd, 1718. Virginia Governor Alexander Spotswood sent a ship commanded by John Maynard down to the North Carolina coast to track down and kill Blackbeard. Maynard surprised Blackbeard with a skeleton crew anchored at Teach's Hole. In the ferocious battle that followed, Blackbeard was shot 5 times and stabbed no less than 20. The pirate crew was all killed or captured. Blackbeard's head was chopped off and hung from the bowsprit of Maynard's ship. So, just dead head, right? Pirate's headless body was thrown overboard afterwards. Legend has it that the headless body swam around Maynard's ship 3 times before sinking below the waters.
Gross. It's like when you...
It's like a chicken.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's like a chicken. That's disturbing.
Ever since then,
There's no way that's real.
I mean, it has to be real. It was in writing.
Or it was on the internet.
Yeah. Ever since then, it's been said that Blackbeard's ghost haunts the spot known as Teach's Hole. Many people have reported seeing a strange light moving beneath the water of the cove. This ghostly light is thought by some to be Blackbeard's spirit swimming through the waters, searching for his missing head. There are those who believe that on stormy nights you can even hear Blackbeard's voice calling out in the wind. On nights when the angry wind is roaring and the hard rain coming down, many people have heard a horrible roaring coming from inside of his cove, screaming, "Where's my head?"
Wow.
While his reign of terror of the seas was short, Blackbeard's legacy lives on in the legends of North Carolina. We're also learning more about this frightening pirate every day, ever since the discovery of the wreck of Queen Anne's Revenge. Archaeologists and historians have been working on recovering and restoring artifacts from the sunken ship captained by the notorious pirate, and we're discovering fascinating details of his life, of what it was like in the 18th century pirate ship. Here's the really interesting part, right? So while Blackbeard's viciousness has gone down in history, these stories actually may not be entirely true. Except for
don't say.
Well, it's more so the stories of the viciousness. Like, he wanted to create this persona because he would take over the ships, which it's said in many cases, right, without a single shot being fired. So it's one of those, like, history was written by the victor type of thing. Like, oh, we went in and we just slaughtered and whatever. Anyways, except for the final battle, there's actually no record of Blackbeard ever having killed anyone. The show, with the massive arsenal and flaming beard, may have been deliberately designed to avoid a fight. Blackbeard seems to have understood that having a reputation for being a bloodthirsty murderer could save you a lot of trouble.
I mean, true.
Yeah.
If you just talk a big game, people will be worried.
Yeah, what was really interesting, though, as I continue to do some research, it started to make a little bit more sense. So at the time, right, we're not the United States of America, still very much under British rule. And there was a lot of taxes and levies and whatnot. Not levies, taxes and what's the other word I'm looking for?
I mean, I couldn't tell you because I didn't pay attention in school, so...
Tariffs. That's the other one. Taxes and tariffs on goods coming into the Americas because people were still obviously here, right? And so they would, instead of having the British government tax all the goods come in, the pirates would actually like avoid the tax. So they would take over these ships that were bringing in goods and then go sell them. So they were profiting. They were paying lower prices at goods here in the Americas, and it was actually helping the economy. But obviously it's like Big Brother really hated that they were taking their goods and selling them because it ends up interfering with their taxation and whatnot. Also, the other thing that was really interesting is when you look at piracy and pirate ships, they were very democratic in the way they set things up. What I mean by that is essentially Blackbeard was voted to be the captain of the ship. Oh. Unlike, obviously, like the British Empire, it's like you were only royalty because of your bloodline, and then everyone else just had to fall in line. You were placed in places. But pirates, actually, their entire organization was set up as a hierarchy that was voted, and you were like given positions because you were good at what you did. And so actually created a more, created more camaraderie on the ship. Like it was like a true brotherhood where they would fight for each other.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of like, pirates maybe weren't the bad guys.
Maybe.
But
they seem pretty cool.
They go down as being the bad guys because they were Robin Hood. Stolen from the rich to give to the poor.
Well, I think they did kill people, though, didn't they?
I'm sure there was some, but Blackbeard didn't. He just wanted to make a few bucks so he could go get himself a wench and drink.
A wench?
You know what I mean?
A bar wench?
Yeah, get a bar wench.
Yeah, it's not a bad life.
You know what I mean? Yo ho.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
Yeah, all those things.
You're always heavy on the history over here.
I know. I don't know why I do that, but it's just... It's what I do.
It's what you do. You bring the history to the podcast.
Yeah. But, so if you're out here in the Carolinas, head out to the Cove. I think it's near the Outer Banks, technically. And you just may hear Blackbeard hollering out for his head.
You might, and if you do, you better write in and let us know.
Absolutely need to know all of the details.
Yeah. That would be wild.
Isn't it crazy, though, that they just, like, I don't know, cut his head off. They're like, all right, we're going to put it on the front of the ship to just show all the pirates that we took Blackbeard's head.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Throw his body over, does a couple laps before finally succumbing to his end.
He did not do a couple laps.
I will stand by this.
Oh my gosh.
It's on the internet. It must be true.
It must be. Oh my gosh.
I mean, why would they make him so glorified if they hated his guts so much? Because that was written by technically his murderer. Not murderer. I don't know. He killed him due to the governor at the time of Virginia sending him out there.
All right.
I just don't know why you would glorify him. I'd just be like, oh yeah, stabbed him dead. That was it. He was a big pansy.
Why did everybody glorify Flo and she became a legend? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Probably because she was cool. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know how these things get started. It's interesting.
It's really interesting.
But, yeah, that was good, Mitch. That was interesting. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's, October, so I feel like we got to do at least one more episode this month.
Absolutely.
And it's October. It's got to be heavy rooted in the paranormal. I always sort of lean towards the paranormal anyway. But this month especially, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm going to lean in.
Yeah.
So
you may as well
stick around because we got more to come. We're going to try to get our act together here.
Yeah. Well, I think,
we say that, knock on wood, and then we always say that and something crazy happens, and we're like, oh, we don't have time if someone's sick or our house flooded or da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. We've been through a lot these last few weeks with the house and everything. So
well, it's fine now. It's fine now. It could be way worse. It could be so much worse. We're not in Western North Carolina.
Absolutely.
So very grateful for that. But yeah, just things are always crazy. So we'll try to get our stuff together and put another one out this month. Something spooky for you creeps. And yeah, just stay tuned. And thanks for listening and tell all your friends.
Absolutely.
Rate and review. Do your part, leave a heart.
I like that.
Well, it's not mine. I heard it somewhere else.
Oh, okay. Regardless, it's good. I think that one thing that we'd be open to is if you have any topics that you'd like us to cover.
Oh, I know always.
Some people have written in via text message or on Instagram or whatever else, things that you want to cover. Shoot us a DM. Slide into those DMs.
Yeah.
Let us know what you want to hear. We'll do some research. We'll see what we can do to pump these out.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
But till then, everybody stay spooky and safe, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye, y'all.